الكرم
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good morning to our honorable guests, brothers and sisters. Before our program begins, I would like to remind you to ensure that your mic is mute except during the Q&A session, and if possible, turn on your camera throughout the program. Please download the virtual background that is provided in the chat box. As a reminder, don't forget to fill in attendance and feedback form. I would like also to remind all of you that there will be a photography session at the end of the talk. Thank you for your cooperation. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now, we will officially begin our long-awaited event. It is a great pleasure and privilege for me to welcome all of you to this momentous event. Praise to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for our help that we are able to cater for our program today. We highly appreciate your presence in attending this event. I am Asma Mardia binti Jamal, your MC for today. In order to get his blessing, I would like to invite Brother Amiruddin for the dua. Recitation, please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا من خزائن رحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Oh Allah, we have gathered today in this morning to learn some skill that would benefit us in the future. Oh Allah, please bless this program and bless the knowledge that we will acquire today so that we can contribute to the society back in the future. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alameen. Thank you, Brother Amiruddin, for the dua. May Allah bless this morning knowledge sharing session to go on without any interruption of obstacle, inshallah. Before we move to the most awaited moment, I will briefly introduce our beloved guest, Sister Hanani Ahmad Puaad. She is one of our IUM 2017 alumni that graduated with a bachelor in mechatronics, currently working as technical specialist at Malaysian Smart Factory Selangor Human Resource Development Center SHRDC Selangor, Malaysia. She has been working in the area of specialization in the Industry Revolution 4.0 data automation with them until the present. During her commitment to SHRDC, so far she has worked on and successfully managed to represent Malaysian Smart Factory at the International Smart Factory Summit, Switzerland. Thus, we feel delighted to have an amazing speaker for today's sharing session. And now, let's have a glimpse on Widen Your Ability KNIME workshop. For the participants, if you have any question during the session, you may write of your question in the chat box. Now, please welcome Sister Nur Hanani Ahmad Puaad. The floor is yours. Tafaddal mashkura.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Okay, so you all can hear my voice. Thank you very much, Sister Asma, and thank you again to this club for give the floor to me to eventually share the knowledge, which is not even mine. Okay, so the knowledge is all from our Creator, Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, and just share what He allowed me to understand, so that it may benefit other human being as well. All right, so thank you very much for the floor. And I think since today we're going to have a workshop instead of a sharing session, so it will be a lot of hands-on involved, I suppose. So without further ado, I will eventually start the workshop. So before I start the workshop, since we gather here around, I think about 46 people, and some are joining from YouTube, I would like to take this opportunity to invite all of you so that we can together recite the Salawat Ashrir for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. So this Salawat Ashrir is only a short one, less than 2 minutes. So we want to take this opportunity to so that we can always be remembered of our brothers and sisters in Palestine, and those who having difficulties, so that for this salawat, okay, the aim for this salawat is that the oppressors, may Allah keep the oppressors to be occupied by their own wrongdoings, and may the Palestinians community to be freed from the shackle of the disbelief. So I will share my screen and my audio for a moment. Share. Okay, wait. Okay, just a short one. Okay, not more than 2 minutes, and then after this we will continue with our workshop. Okay. So I will play this salawat, and you can also recite along. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ashghili adh-dhalimin bidh-dhalimin wa akhrijna min baynihim salimin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ashghili adh-dhalimin bidh-dhalimin wa akhrijna min baynihim salimin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ashghili adh-dhalimin bidh-dhalimin wa akhrijna min baynihim salimin wa ala alihi wa
وصحبه أجمعين.
Okay, so thank you very much for those who together reciting the salawat with me just now. So hopefully Allah will help our brothers and sisters in Palestine. All right, thank you so much. Okay, so without further ado, I will continue with my presentation and my sharing regarding KNIME for analytics platform. Okay, so technically, this workshop is a workshop for data analytics as well as data science. Okay, it's a very interesting platform whereby it is an open source. Actually, it's a free software. That's also come together with a paid version of it, which we eventually will discuss along the way. All right. So before we go deeper into the software itself, just a brief introductory for those who is new to data analytics, for those who is new to any data related platform. I will just do a brief introductory on data analytics itself. Okay, because actually data analytics it is not meant for any specific field. So technically, people from business, people from other fields, engineering fields, non-engineering fields, economics fields, can also benefit from data. And will also be beneficial if you all know about how to actually analyze your data, right? Okay, so a little bit of introductory about data. So what is data? So data is a collection of facts. It can be in a form of table, it can be in a form of images, it can be in any sorts of forms, right? And when we come to data analytics, so data analytics is a collection, transformation and organization of data to draw conclusion, make prediction, and drive informed decision making. So basically, when we talk about data analytics, we want to convert raw information into a meaningful insight. Okay. This is a brief of 4 different types of data analytics. Okay, we have descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics. So eventually, descriptive analytics covers or explain what happened to your data. If you have a set of data and you want to know what happened to your data, it's basically a descriptive analytics. If you go even further into diagnostic analytics, it's basically explain why certain patterns happened. Predictive analytics, basically forecasting or predict what might happen to your data, okay, based on certain trends. And last but not least, we have prescriptive analytics. So prescriptive analytics is basically a recommendation based on certain forecasting. Okay, so the more complex the analytics is, then the analytics will eventually go to a prescriptive analytics, from descriptive analytics to prescriptive analytics. So usually I cover this course in Malaysian Smart Attack Factory for 5 days, okay, which eventually will cover data analytics around 5 to 6 different kind of examples, including machine learning, because this tool is very powerful that it can also cover how to do machine learning as well as deep learning. And recent development of the platform, they even come up with an AI, a ChatGPT integration. So you can actually integrate and build your own ChatGPT with KNIME. Okay, which if you have extra time, I will happy to share some of those ChatGPT integration with you. Okay, so yeah, the difficulties of or the complexities of the analysis varies from descriptive analytics until prescriptive analytics. Okay, basically descriptive analytics explaining what happening or answering the question of what happening in my business. Diagnostic analytics, why is it happening? Predictive, what is likely to happen. And when we talk about prescriptive, it's eventually an action-based decision making. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go into one of the KNIME itself as an analytics platform. Okay, so KNIME actually stands for Constant Information Miner. So KNIME is originally initiated in Switzerland, in Zurich, in Switzerland. Their HQ is in Zurich, Switzerland, actually. But they also have a very strong headquarters in Germany. Yeah. So technically, the strong two hub for KNIME is Switzerland, in Zurich, Switzerland, and in Germany. So what you can see here is partially the screenshot of KNIME Analytics Platform version 3 point something up until 4 point something. But latest upgrades for KNIME, they have a newer version with a nicer and more sleek UI, which eventually we're going to use for this session. Okay. And yes, as you can see from the glimpse of this screenshot, okay, KNIME is actually, you can also call it as a low code to no code platform for data analytics. So those who don't have extensive programming background can still do data analytics, right? It's basically a drag and drop platform for you to do analytics, machine learning, and even deep learning analytics. Okay, and you can also build and customize your own dashboard or customize your own reporting on top of the platform. Okay, so this is something that we're going to build together after this as well. So it uses a drag and drop, and what you can see here is actually a workflow. It's an example of a KNIME workflow. So inside KNIME, there's a lot of different kind of nodes. There's a node to do almost everything, okay? And it can integrate with your with your databases. You can integrate with your big data, your Hadoop, Spark, for example, okay? To name a few. Okay, so this is example of the activities that we're going to go through step by step after this as well. So today workshop will be a hands-on workshop whereby I will guide you step by step on how to complete at least one activity, since we only have 2 hours and a half. Okay, so this is our latest and new KNIME interface. Okay, so for those, I already shared some of the link for you to install, and for those who join through Microsoft Teams, there's a link there for you to download and install. Eventually, I will also download and install together with you after this. Okay, so technically, this is your user interface, or we call it as a UI. Okay, so at the top, you have the application tabs. You also have the workflow editor in the middle. You have information page on the right. Node monitor. So each and every node will have its own output where you can monitor under the node monitor. You can also have your site panel navigation, whereby you have your library, your explorer, your basically you can call it as a node library lah. So any nodes that you want to work with, you can just simply search it inside the node repository. Okay. So these are some of the explanation regarding the notes. And yes, after this, I will navigate you to the link where you can also get the slides. Okay, I will pass the slides to you after this. Okay, so inside KNIME workflow, a single node, we call it as a node. Okay, but a connected node, we call it as a workflow. All right. So whenever, maybe during the hands-on session of this, whenever I mention, okay, workflow, meaning that we are referring to the whole flow. Okay, and if you can see from this workflow, the nodes come in different colors. So usually the reader or the input node will always come in orange. Analytics or data cleaning nodes will always come in yellow, and you have a visualization node, which usually in blue. Okay, and each node will have 3 different state conditions. So if you first drag and drop a node, usually the state will be under not configured. Okay, so it's work like a traffic light, whereby when you pull any nodes, you need to eventually set the node first. You need to configure it first, do some settings and configuration, then only you can save or execute the node. Then only when it becomes green, meaning that the node is okay and it's ready to pass the information to the next node. Okay. Throughout my explanation, if I go too fast or you need some clarification, feel free to raise your hand or ask in the chat. Yeah, I don't mind for you to interrupt my session along the way. So yeah, if you have any question along the way, feel free to ask. Okay, so technically, if we look deeper into a node, okay, a note will look something like this, whereby you will have a note annotation at the bottom of the note. Note annotation, you can also simply look it as the name of the note. How do you want to annotate the note? Because it's when you have multiple notes, it's always good to rename your note into a specific name so that you know what's happening inside the note. You have a general note name at the top. Okay, here. Input port. The input port can be either image, file system, a database, and this platform can also link to Google platform, Google Drive, Power BI, Microsoft. So different platform might have a different input port. Okay, and we also have an output port, which usually in a data table. Okay, it can also be an output port in terms of a model, since we can also do machine learning model in the platform. It can be in the form of image. So different kind of input can go into a node, and a different kind of output can go outside from the node. It can have more than one input and output. So you can have multiple input and multiple output depending on the node. Okay, so a general flow, this one is quite general. Okay, a general flow on how to actually analyze the data, or how KNIME works in analyzing data. It will always start with a data acquisition, whereby you need to put in your data or your link to your database, or maybe your big data. Okay, it can be in a form of Excel sheet, CSV, Google Drive. Okay, after that, we will take a few notes to actually clean the data, remove any missing values, remove any outliers. Okay, and then we're gonna manipulate the data to extract certain data or certain information. Then we will do data visualization. So this is what we're gonna cover for today workshop. Okay, hopefully we have enough time to cover that all. Okay, so for data acquisition, yeah, so these are some of the format that KNIME can cover: CSV file, Excel file, text file, a database, on even a web API, okay, web server link. Right. Okay, the slide is quite short. Why? Because I'm gonna eventually navigate it to Google Classroom. All right. So for those who haven't entered the Google Classroom, you may enter it. Because all the materials and all the data I will share, all the links will be from the Google Classroom. So how to enter this Google Classroom? The first step is to open a Google Chrome and make sure you log in as your own Google. You log in into your own Google account. Okay. Open a Google Chrome and log in into your own Google account. Right. So once you log in into your Google account, maybe I can show you if from a fresh tab. If I open a new Google Chrome, a new tab, okay. So from this fresh tab, after you already log in into your account, you can go to this Google Apps and search for Google Classroom. Okay, so I'm gonna, I already created a classroom for you all to access all the materials and the slides. Okay, so you can go to Google Classroom. Okay, so once you are inside the Google Classroom, there's a plus signal here for you to join the class. So you can key in the class code. Okay, this particular class code. Okay, I will also copy and paste this class code, or you can also click at the link. So what I will do is I will share the link to the Google Classroom. Inside the chat. Okay. So that is the link for Google Classroom. You can also click and join the link. And I will also post it inside YouTube. Okay. So we have 3 people inside already. Okay, so why is it important for you to go inside? Okay, I can just share the link as well. Because here, maybe I can just walk you through what I prepared for you inside the Google Classroom. First, we have the data that we're going to use for these activities. Okay, the slide, as well as some interesting data that we're going to look into if you have time, as well as the installer. Okay, so if I go too fast or you want me to repeat a few steps, just let me know. All right. If you search KNIME, just search a random Google search KNIME. Yeah, from the YouTube, I mean, okay, I already shared the Google Classroom there. So I'm not sure if you can click at the link, but yeah, the Google Classroom is, the link should be there. Okay, so if you click like KNIME, if you open a general KNIME web page, it's actually very interesting. Okay, so this is official KNIME website. There's actually a few things that you can do DIY as well. For example, KNIME have its own community, KNIME have its own learning platform, and currently KNIME offer level 1 certification for free, meaning that there's a few series of online self-paced learning that you can go through in KNIME, and then you can sit for the level 1 certification. So in total, KNIME offers 4 levels of certification for you to become certified or expert in KNIME Analytics Platform. Okay, but yeah, as it goes from level 1 to level 4, then it becomes more and more difficult, of course. But level 1 so far is free. Last time when I took it, it was paid. But now it's free, level 1, just for level 1 lah. Yeah, so you can take this opportunity to sit for the free certification once you feel comfortable and ready to have a test on your knowledge to use the platform. Okay, so technically this is KNIME software. So these are all the companies that already use the platform. We have Continental, sometimes Siemens also already use a lot of Seagates, big companies already use this platform actually. So it is a really interesting and a good platform to do analytics. Even in Malaysia itself, one of my colleagues, he continued study in UM in medical, so they also use KNIME in their syllabus, okay, as an analytics platform to analyze medical cases. So I'm not sure if in UIA or maybe other people from other universities, if other people already use KNIME before, I'm not sure. So maybe you can shout out if you have experience using the platform before. But yeah, this platform or this sharing today will be a basic one. I will go through with you how to complete one flow from analytics, one analytics, data analytics flow from data acquisition to dashboard system. Okay. All right. So yes, you can click at this link if you want to install. Okay. Download the installer. So this is direct link to the installer. Okay, we're going to use version 5.1.1. Why is that? Because the latest version is version 5.1.2. But so far, our development team in Malaysian Smart Factory, we encountered a few bugs on version 5.1.2. So, well, when you work with open source software, which is free software, sometimes the latest version is not the best versions. So I suppose version 5.1.2 is still in a beta phase, whereby they are still testing the compatibility of the platform. But so far, we test out with version 5.1.1. It's good enough. All this while, we've been using version 4.7.7. But in order to use ChatGPT capabilities in KNIME, so you need to use version 5.1.1. So yeah, feel free to install it. 5.1.1. If you are using Mac or you are using Linux as your operating system, as your PC, you may look at the link. So the link have a installer for Mac and Linux. As for inside the Google Classroom, the installer that I gave, that one is specifically for Windows. Okay. Okay, we have more people. Okay, good. Okay, so how to download the installer from Google Classroom. So if you click at the installer, this is our KNIME installer. So if you're using Windows, again, you can straight away go to the installer and download from the Google Classroom. But if you're using Mac OS or Linux, you can click at the link and you can download your own operating system versions. Okay. So if you're downloading from the Google Classroom, click at the link. Okay. So you will see a download icon at the top right corner. Okay, here. So you can click download. Okay, download anyway. So because it's quite large, this installer. So hopefully the internet at your end is not that slow. Okay. So once you already download, since I already have it download here, let's just run the installation. Do you need any minimum spec for in your PC to run KNIME? I think what you need is enough memory. That's all. Because the software is not that heavy, but in order to process the analytics and the machine learning part, yeah, it requires some RAM. Let me see. Okay, so for those, okay, I will just install it from my side as well. So I will install together with you. Okay, once you're done downloading the platform. Okay, so there will be a standard setup agreement, accept the agreement. Okay, and then you just click next and follow the instruction on the installation. And for those who done installing, so what you can do next is you can download the data set, because we're going to use this Office data set in our example. So once you're done installing KNIME, what you can do is, or while waiting for it to install, what you can do is you can download your Office Sale Excel file from the Google Classroom. Or maybe I can share the link as well. If you click at the Office Sale, it will give you this data. After this, I will explain regarding the data as well, because it is important to understand what data that you're dealing with before you can even do the analytics. Okay, once you click at the link, open a new window. Okay, once you open a new window, you should see a download icon at the top right corner. And you can download. Once you complete your KNIME installation, you will see this icon. Okay, and whether you want to launch KNIME Analytics Platform straight away or not. It has a pro and cons on that. But as for now, I won't launch it first. Okay, there's a reason behind that. Okay, so once you're done installing, make sure you download your Office Sales Excel. Okay, for those who want link to that Excel, they can just share. Okay, I will share the link to the data as well. Okay, so for those who have check. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the an error occurs when trying to rename a file destination directory as SSD9. I think you have an issue with a directory, meaning that where to save your installation. Okay. So what you can cannot download. Try again. Yeah, Sister Asma, maybe you can try again. Can't download or can't install. It seems to already run some installation at the back panel of it. Okay, if you can't download from the Google Classroom, you can try the link. Maybe I can share inside the meeting chat the link for the installer directly from the website. Yep, this one. Okay, try and download from this link. Okay, so maybe I can do a quick note. So, as a preparation before we start our activity, hands-on activity, step 1, make sure you already download and install KNIME. I can zoom in a bit. Okay, so make sure you download and install KNIME. Step 2, make sure you download the dataset, the Office Sales dataset. Okay. And then step 3, okay, we're going to create a folder we're going to create a folder and put in our dataset inside the folder. So this folder is basically will be your KNIME workflow directory. It's where KNIME will process your data, save files, save data, access datasets. So we're going to create one folder. So for To simplify, I will just create a folder at my desktop. New folder. I will call it as KNIME workshop. And I put my data set inside this KNIME workshop, the office sales data set. Okay, so you need to do all these 3 steps, and then once you're done, you can let me know then, or maybe if you're joining the Microsoft, if you're done, you can send thumbs up or anything so that I know that most of you are ready for me to proceed to the next steps. So yeah, settle these 3 first. If you have any problem, let me know. So those who done with step 1, step 2, and step 3, please maybe you can raise your hands or send thumbs up. Okay, I will give a few more minutes before we start the actual workflow. So for those who just joined the session, you can enter the Google Classroom. And you can find all the installation inside Google Classroom. Yes, Nick Nur Zulaika, yes, click download anyway. Yeah, because the file is quite big. just click download anyway, and it will start your download. Is everything good? Okay, so can I get thumbs up inside Microsoft Teams for those who join Microsoft Teams who already finished with all the 3 steps, 1, 2, 3? Maybe can send thumbs up or raise your hand so that I can see and I can expect and arrange the timing. If most of the people joining the Microsoft team is done, maybe I will proceed with the next steps. Okay. Okay, so download, install, download Office sales data, create a folder and put inside. Put your data set or your Office sales Excel just now inside the folder. All right. So now we're gonna run or open or start our KNIME workflow. So you can by right when you install, there should be an icon at your desktop. Okay. You can either double click at the icon or you can go to the search bar and open KNIME Analytics Platform. Okay, you can open the platform, and once you open the platform, there will be a pop-up like this. Okay, they will ask you to select your directory or your workspace. Okay, so here is where we're gonna point the workspace to the new folder that we created just now. Okay, so just now we created a new folder, right? And put our data set inside. So we click browse and then navigate to that folder. Okay, for example, I create KNIME workshop. So I create this folder, select folder. So this is my workspace directory. It's important to know where your workspace directory, because if you don't define your workspace directory, basically KNIME have its own default directory as well, but you need to dig into your C file, into your, basically there's a few level of directory, but through this method, we are determining the directory our own. Okay, so we are pointing where we want to save all the files and all the workflows. Okay. So yes, browse, keep browse, and then point to your folder. Okay, select folder, and then launch your KNIME Analytics Platform. Okay, so when you want to launch the analytics platform, it will pop up something like this. Okay, this actually is a consent whether you want to help them to actually find a pattern on how people use KNIME. Okay, so inside KNIME, later on, there's one part whereby you're going to have a workflow coach. Workflow coach is basically they will suggest to you what is the next node that people usually use. What is the next node after the node that you choose? Okay, so you know they will also gather data from how you use your KNIME. Okay, so this is actually just a consent whether you want to help the community to provide a better suggestion to the user. So usually I will just allow, I mean, they will not access your data, no worries. They will just access what nodes that you're using and what's not. Yeah. So once you run KNIME, basically this is your KNIME Analytics Platform. Okay, so technically, if you want to explore on your own, you can go through some of the examples. So some of the example is like, but if you go through the examples, right, it's like you are reverse engineering the analytics. So yeah, you need to go through the explanation. Some of the workflows comes together with explanation. Some of them are not. But by right, yeah, feel free to explore. Okay, now we want to go to the next, the bottom tab, which is a local space. Okay, there's a place whereby it says here local space. So click at the plus yellow icon, create a workflow into your local space. Okay, click create workflow in your local space. Okay, so we need to create a project name. So project name, I will put activity 1. Technically, you're going to go through just one activity, but yeah, feel free to give any name to your workflow. Okay, it's just a workflow name, how you want to identify your workflow later on. And then you click create. It's like creating a file name. Okay. So once you create your workflow, okay, then here is the first step. Then, so if you have multiple workflow running concurrently, so you are expecting to have multiple tabs at the top of the platform. Okay. And technically, this is your KNIME, your workflow editor. Okay, this is where you will edit your workflow. On your left, you will have your node repository. So node repository, you can also look at as your node library. So there's a lot of different node IO, input and output. You can write Excel, you can read Excel, Google as well. Manipulation, views. Yeah, so there's a lot of things. Some of it going to use. So this one is at the middle tab. So middle tab will be where your node library is. Okay. At the top tab is where your node description. So now there's no description, but if you drag and drop any nodes, for example, I just take a random node, drag and then drop it inside the workflow editor. I just drag and drop. Okay. So when I click at the node, so this one is clicking at the node, this one is not clicking at the node. So if I click at the node and I go to the top here, it's actually description. So it will tell me, it will give me description regarding the node. Okay, what is the node? Type, what is the input type, output port type. Okay, so technically, any nodes that you are not sure of how they use the nodes, you can always go back to the description. So I will just delete this one. Okay, if you want to delete any node, you can just click at the node and then press delete key on your keyboard. Okay, so that's the first top tab. Okay, this one. Now we are exploring the left side of the platform. Okay, all the tabs. Okay, we have description, we have your node library, which is node repository. You will also have a Space Explorer. Space Explorer is basically your workspace. Okay, if you still remember, just now we save our Office Sales Excel file and we point to the same directory when we want to open KNIME. So now we should be able to get our data inside the space. So this is my local space. It's like your own personal folder inside KNIME. Okay, this is the workflow activity 1 that we created just now. And then this one is Office Sales. On top of that, I think you should have example workflow, I guess. Oh, this one maybe need to link with the internet first. Okay, so by right, if you done the step 1, step 2, and step 3, you should see Office Sales at your Space Explorer. Okay, again, navigate to the left side, Space Explorer, and you should see your Office Sales. So you just drag and then drop inside your workflow editor. So this will be our node reader. So we are reading the data into the platform. If you found the workflow editor to be too small, you can enlarge it at the top right corner. So for example, I'm going to zoom in a bit. The shortcut will be Control plus. Okay, so I'm going to Control plus a bit to enlarge the enlargement. Okay. Okay. So this is our Excel reader that we drag and drop just now. So now you can see the color is yellow because we haven't run it or we haven't executed it. So each node should have 4 options at the top. This one is the configuration option. This one is the execution option. This one is to reset, I guess, cancel the node. This one is to reset the node. Okay, and if you notice, there's a Mickey Mouse ears at the top of the node. So this one is actually, we call it as a flow variable node. So inside KNIME, you can pass through a normal data or you can pass through data through flow variables. How flow variables work, after this, we're going to also include that in our example. Okay. So now it is yellow color. So what you can do, yes, you can execute. So by right, it will run the table, the node. Okay. And if you click at the node, after it's already become green, you can see the data that is inside the folder. Okay, so I'm going to wait for a few of you to, you can try to replicate first. Okay. Meanwhile, while waiting for the rest to arrive at these steps, I will add a comment. So once you click at the node, you can actually add comments. So this is what I mentioned earlier about node annotation. It is important to have a node annotation. Why? Because so that you know what happening to that node. For example, this Excel reader is reading an Office Sales data. So I will just double click at the node comment, and I will just add Office Sales.Excel. So in case I have other Excel reader nodes with a different data set, so I can differentiate, okay, this node is for Office Sales or this node is for different kind of data. So yes, so this one is your Excel reader. So technically, since the data is just drag and drop, so you don't really need to do any configuration. But in case you want to look into the configuration, you can always go to this configure icon, or you can right click and then press configure F6. It's still there. Okay, you get the wrong file reader node. Yeah. Why still red? Because you get the wrong file reader node. Okay, so what I can advise you is try and delete that node first. Okay, for Sister Asma, try and delete that node. Okay, how to delete the node? You click at the node and then you press delete key. Okay, try and delete that node and then go back to your local space or your space explorer on your right and drag and drop again. By right, it should detect a normal Excel reader node. It's basically auto detect your format. The photos that you share to me that have an additional input port. Yeah, so it requires an input port. By right, we don't need to have any input port, so you can just execute. How to insert office sales? Okay. Okay. Let me show you. Okay, if you already have a local space here, you can, yeah, you can also try and add files. Okay, from a local space here. Okay. Press the 3 button. Okay. This one for those who don't have your local space ready yet. So you can press this more options. Okay, again, navigate to your Space Explorer. Okay. Inside your Space Explorer, go to the 3 dots, more options, add files. Okay. This method is basically the other method if you don't identify your workspace earlier. Okay, if you miss the earlier steps, you still want to get the office sales in, you can go to, again, I repeat the steps. Go to the Space Explorer, okay, and then go to these 3 dots, add files, and then you select your office sales, okay, and then open. Okay, all right. So by right, you should get your office sales Excel file here as well. Okay. Let me know if it works for you. Let me just try. Previously, it's also worked with drag and drop. Yeah, it's also worked with drag and drop. So, because older version, the drag and drop part doesn't work. So, this newer version seems to be working. So yes, another option is you can drag and drop. Yeah, your office sales you can drag and then drop it inside the workflow editor. Okay. So now everyone have a office sales Excel file. All good? Sister Asma, did you manage to drag and drop the note? Yes. So Sister Asma, you can delete the old one. Okay, and then you can execute the one with yellow. The one with red, you just delete. You won't be using that. Okay. You can proceed with the one with yellow. Okay, if it's yellow, let me just reset my node. So if it's like this, yellow, if you mouse over to the node and press the execute button, or you can also use the shortcut. The shortcut should be F7. Okay, sorry. Or maybe they have a different shortcut now. To show the output, we should execute. Okay. Okay, so there's a few errors in my file. I think this one. Oh, because just now I drag and drop a different file. So I kind of need to drag and drop again. Yes, correct, Sister Asma. Thank you. Congratulations. Okay. So I think I need to re-enter mine. Okay. So now I have problem executing mine. Okay, anyway. This drag and drop from this office sales. The supply. Okay, wait, I double check. File. Okay. Just drag and drop our file. So file itself. Let's see. Okay. So that file is not here. Sorry, hold on for a moment. Issues with my flow. It's okay. Okay, so let's go back to our activities. So yes, don't forget to put some comments as a note annotation. Okay. All right. So before we proceed to the next node, we're gonna go through the node, the data itself. So this data is actually is a data regarding office sales. So there's a one particular company that that company actually sell furnitures as well as office supply. Okay, so from this data we have a sales order date, a sales order number. Okay, we also have order date, when customer actually place their order, when is expected delivery date, shipping mode, customer key, product ID, the category of the items that the customer want to purchase, either it is a furniture or an office supplies. Okay, this one is subcategories. Okay, the product itself, unit number, how many for example, how many tables that particular order want to purchase. So maybe 1 table, 2 tables. Okay, this one is order quantity, discount, and then we have shipping costs. Okay. What else? And then we have order priority. Okay, is this a high or low order priority? Okay. So this one is the first step that you can get under table. Okay. If you click at any reader node, you will get this table straight away. If you go to statistics, the statistic will tell you how many missing data that you have. For example, if I press statistics, okay, I can know that under delivery date, I have 170 missing values. Okay, I have 170 missing values. Okay. And yeah, only that particular node or only that particular column that have missing values. So you can also have a unique value or min and max value for each column. Okay. So I want to fix these missing values first. So now we are in the second state, which is we are cleaning our data. Okay, we want to remove any missing values. So next, the node that I need to use, okay, we want to look for a node called a row filter node. So you can search inside the node repository. So make sure you navigate to, this one is our Space Explorer. This one is our node library or node repository. So search for row filter node. Okay, search for a row filter node. So row filter node, you use the normal row filter. There's a lot of different kind of row filter node. Even if you ask me dealing with KNIME for a few years already, I still haven't explored all the nodes because there's just a lot of different nodes and they are keep on expanding and integrating new things over the year. So yes, there's a lot of different nodes. So you can drag and then drop the row filter node inside your workflow editor. Okay, once you already drop it, you can join from this end. Maybe I can just zoom up a bit. Okay, you can join from the output of the file reader or Excel reader, join in to the row filter node. So you just drag the triangle and then drop it here. Okay. So what do we want to filter? So based on the file reader statistics just now, we want to filter missing values coming from a column called delivery date. So if you go to the table, right, if I look at the delivery date, so this is the delivery date column, I can also sort ascending or descending. So if I click at the arrow, here, I'm actually sorting it ascending or descending. So if I sorting it ascendingly, I can see there's a missing value here. Okay. Eventually, you can also have a different view of the data. It can be in a bar chart and so here there's also stated the data type. So for example, sales order, the data type is string meaning that it is a text data type. You also have a number data type. So data type is also important in KNIME because certain analysis require you to have a certain type of data. Okay, so let's proceed with our row filter node. So now my row filter node is having this not configured icon. So meaning that I need to do some sort of configuration. So you can either right click, press configure, or shortcut is F6, or you can also click at the gear icon at the top to configure. So this is the configuration page. Okay, so column to test, which column that we want to test? We want to test our just now was delivery date. Yeah, we want to remove missing data from our delivery date column. So we click delivery date. Okay, we want to include or exclude. So we want to remove the missing values. So exclude rows by attribute values. And what are the values that we want to remove? So if you have a certain range, for example, I want to remove values from this range and this range, or I want to include only values from this range and this range. So you can use a range checking. Okay, certain pattern matching also can. For example, I only want to see data from for example, furniture. So you can use pattern matching, which is furniture. But for our purpose now, we want to remove a missing value. So we click at the only missing value match. Okay, click at only missing value match. We want to exclude rows by attribute values, and we want to only missing value match. And then we click OK. Once we click OK, it becomes yellow, and then we can execute this node. And if you click at the node, so each node that we click will give in certain sets of data. So when I click at file Excel reader, I have the raw data here. And if I click at the row filter node, so now here is my clean data. If I go back to the statistics, by right missing values, I no longer have any missing value under the delivery date. Okay, so this one is, yes, it's always good to put some node annotation to explain what that node is doing. So remove missing values inside delivery date. Delivery date column. Okay, so that is your raw filter node. Okay, so for this particular analysis, I forgot to actually brief you all on what are the target of this analysis. So if you go at any empty space inside your KNIME workflow editor, you can right click and create a new workflow annotation. So right click, new workflow annotation. So new workflow annotation is like your note. You can key in any notes here. For example, I key in activity 1, whereby activity 1, we want to find the relation between sales order and product. Find the relation between sales order duration and product. So inside this KNIME workflow annotation, you can like put notes. You can also change the heading if you want to. For example, if I want to put this into heading 1, okay, I can also click a different color for the border. Totally up to you. Let me just fit this to screen and enlarge this bit. And then bring it forward and bring it at the top side. Okay, so something like this. Okay, so basically we want to find the duration between sales order and delivery date, and we want to identify which order is actually urgent. Although yes, there's a priority level also included in the table, but we want to know if I select different delivery date, or if I select different sales order date, so which item that need to be prepared by the production team, for example, okay, based on the duration. So what we can do is, next we want to find the duration. Okay, we want to find the duration. The duration of what? The duration of basically the production duration, the duration between order date and then delivery date. Okay, so what we can do is we can use one node called date and time difference. Okay, there's one node called date and time difference. So you can drag this node and then put it next to your row filter node and connect it. Okay, So this is your date and time difference. And yes, again, you need to configure it. So inside your date and time difference, what is your base column? So your base column will be your order date. So you want to deduct or you want to identify how long it is, the lead time from the order date to the delivery date. So your second column will be the delivery date. Your first column or your base column will be order date. So if you want to find some duration between two dates, so you can use this node, okay, basically date and time difference. Output option, so either you want a duration or you want a granularity. So basically granularity will give you the output in integer or in numbers. Okay, so you can select you want to calculate in days or in weeks or in hours, minutes, seconds, nanos or microns, depends. So for example, let's go with days. So you want to identify how many days that the customer need to wait from order date until delivery date. Okay. A new column name. So you can actually define a new column name here. Let's just put a duration. Okay, so again, you can put here calculate duration. And then you can always execute this node. Okay, so once you execute this node, again, if you click at the node, you can always see the output at the bottom. So where is my duration column? It is at the endmost of the table. So this is my duration. So 7 meaning that there's a 7 days gap between order date and delivery date, 4 days gap, 6 days gap, right? So now that we already have the duration, so we want to start with our maybe some filter. Okay, we want to have some filter. Basically, we want to push to our dashboard. Okay, so this one is a date time difference. In order to push to your dashboard, now we want to make 2 bar chart. Okay, we want to make a 2 bar chart. So the first bar chart, we want to display the furniture. The second bar chart, we want to display the office supply. Okay, the order for office supply and the order for the furniture, because this sales data, it consists of 2 different categories. You can also look it like 2 different department. Okay, this company is selling office supplies and as well as furnitures. So we want to identify at certain date how many furnitures that they need to prepare, okay, for the production team. Okay, so first branch, we want to filter for office supplies. So we can again look for a row filter node. For a row filter node. Okay. And then inside this row filter node, if you double click inside the configuration, column to test. So we want to filter the category name. Let me just double check. Okay, so let me just double check from this node. The column that we want to filter is, yes, this category. Okay, since this category only have 2 categories, office supplies and furniture. Okay, so inside this row filter, okay, column to test will be our category name, and pattern, we're going to use a pattern matching, which is furniture. Okay, let's filter for furniture first. And we want to include or exclude. So I select include because I want to see all the orders related to furniture only. Okay, and then we click OK. And then yes, you can execute the note. Here I press, I just filter for furniture. Eventually, you can also branch out. You can copy the note and paste it. Okay, any notes can be copy paste, and you can branch out the second branch, second link. So this one will be for office supplies. Okay, same category column, which is category name. Right? And then next, we want to put our bar chart, for example. So let's have a bar chart. So you can type in, because there's a lot of different nodes inside this node repository, so it is important to make full use of the search bar. Okay, so I'm going to use a bar chart. Let's see if there's, yeah, let's use this bar chart JavaScript. But the difference between a normal bar chart and bar chart JavaScript, basically just the view of it. Bar chart JavaScript has a bit nicer view lah. Yeah, but if you want to stick with a normal bar chart, I think that shouldn't be any problem as well. So I'm going to choose this bar chart JavaScript and then link the data to the input port. Okay, so this triangle is an empty triangle or triangle with a white color. So this one is for color data and this one is for the actual data. Okay, so if you go inside the bar chart, okay, category column, for example, we want to search for just now the category column. Yeah, this one is for the category name. So we want, for example, which order or which item that we want to include in the bar chart. For example, I want to include only the order quantity and then the duration, for example. Okay, so if you want to exclude, this is what we want to include in the bar chart. This one is where you want to exclude. So if you want to exclude, you can just double click and it will automatically go to the next exclude box. Okay, so I just want to see order quantity and duration, for example. Okay, I want to see the total order for furniture based on order quantity and duration. All right, and then you click OK. And if you run the node, you can right click and open view. So open view is basically your chart. Yeah, so under furniture, in total I have 30130 order quantity for furniture. Okay, and duration, this is the total duration. Okay, but this doesn't really make sense. So let's change our category column to our product or maybe subcategory name. Yeah, subcategory name. So change your category column to subcategory name. So yeah, this makes even more sense. Okay, what we're trying to do here, we want to be able to filter at certain dates. What are the furniture's quantity and duration for that particular date order? Okay, so open view. So for example, under furniture, okay, under furniture, I have in total, yeah, this is order quantity under furnishing. I have chairs, how many order, how long is the duration, how many order for bookcases, okay, and the duration to complete it between order date and delivery date, okay, how many order for tables, okay. And you can also do the same for office supplies. So the simplest way is yes to drag and drop the node. So run the node. Okay. Click OK. So again, you want to view the chart, you can right click and then open view. So this is for office supply. So you have different type of subcategories: appliances, art, binders, paper, storage, supplies. the order quantity and the duration. Okay, but we haven't finished yet. Okay, first we need to change here so that we can differentiate which one is coming from furniture, which one is coming from office supplies, because eventually we're going to merge both bar chart into a single dashboard, and we will create a user interface. Latest row filter. Okay, sure. Okay, that's why it's important to rename. Okay, maybe I have renamed this filter for office supply. Okay, so I have two row filter now, the top one and the bottom one. The top one is actually filtering for the furniture. The bottom one is filtering for office supply, but still my column to test will be the same category name. But I just use a pattern matching. Okay, when you use a pattern matching, right, you need to have the wording to be spelled correctly. You need to follow the exact spelling of the wording. So then only the nodes can search. So this is my second row filter, office supplies. Okay, category name, office supplies. Yeah, I hope that answer your question, Muhammad Ashraf. Okay. So by right, you should have something like this. Okay, two row filter, two bar charts, date and time difference. Okay, so I'll give a few minutes for you to go until this stage. Okay, meanwhile, just give me 2 minutes. Okay. Any question from the floor so far? All good? Okay, so if there's no question, I will proceed. Okay, so now we have two bar charts. Okay, wait, sorry. Okay, so you have, Sister Asma, you have an error at your row filter node. Okay, first thing first, we need to know what is the error. So how to know the error? You can mouse over to the triangle error, and then it will appear and they will write down there what is your error. So maybe you can mouse over to the error button so that I can and maybe let us know what is the error. We can solve it together. So for example, if I try to, okay, yeah, okay. Node created an empty data table. Okay, so node created an empty data table, most likely coming from your configuration. So I will open my configuration node. Just double check that everything is exactly like mine. For example, This one is coming from the bottom one. Your spelling must be correct because it filtered exactly the same wording. So double check your spelling, double check the column to test, make sure it is a category name, and double check include rows by attribute. If your row filter node has been configured correctly, meaning that maybe something wrong with the previous node, that's also a possibility. Okay, cool. All right, so let's proceed. Same with the furniture. So you need to make sure that the pattern matching is spelled correctly based on what written inside your data table. Okay. Okay, so what happens, what we have here now is we have two bar charts, and yeah, before I forgot, just now I mentioned that we want to change the bar chart title. So if you go inside the bar chart, double click inside the bar chart configuration. So there's a few ways for you to go inside the configuration. Either you right click at the gear, you can also right click and configure, or you can double click at the node. It will open your configuration node as well. Generally, we are at the option tab. If you go next tab, general plot options. So here where you can change your title. So this one, I type in furniture. Okay. You can also have a stagger label if you want to. You can also plot horizontal bar chart if you want to. It's totally up to you. Okay. So each time you make some changes inside the node, yes, eventually you need to re-execute the node again. So now my bar chart, I already have furniture as the bar chart heading. So if I want later, if I put like both bar charts together in one dashboard, there shouldn't be any problem lah, because they have their own bar chart title. Okay, so before we want to package this as a dashboard, we want to include one more node to filter the order priority. Okay, this node we call it as reference row filter node. Okay, look for reference row filter node. Okay, where to put this reference row filter node? So basically, we want to put after the date time different before it branch out into the row filter, furniture row filter and office supply row filter. So if I want to put a node in the middle of a connected node, okay, I can just drag and then put it in the middle until the line become bold like that. Okay, once it is bold, I can release my mouse so it will auto connected. So this one also I will remove and then connect it like this. So I want to put a row filter so that my data here will be narrowed down and filtered based on order priority. So I have a filter based on order type or category, and I have a filter based on order priority. Okay, so we take one reference row filter node, and then we can also take one multiple selection widget, multiple selection. Okay, there's one node called multiple selection widget. So again, if you notice this, all these widget node, single selection widget, value selection widget. So all these widget nodes is actually in the blue color, meaning that this node is actually part of the visualization node, whereby the function of this node is to allow user to make some changes or user to have its own input inside the dashboard to change the viewed data. So we want user to be able to select different order priority, and eventually it will change our bar chart view in the dashboard later on. So you take multiple selection widget and connect it to the reference row filter. So this reference row filter function is to filter out our order priority, and this order priority will be based on the selection of multiple selection widget. All right. So it will look something like this. Okay. I will go one by one. Let's go inside the reference row filter first. Oh, sorry. Let's go inside the multiple selection widget first. Okay, because this is the widget that will send data to the row filter, reference row filter. So label here, we can put order priority. Order priority. Description, you can put any description if you want. A variable name is how the data will be identified as after this node. Okay. I will just leave as it is, multiple selection. Selection type, I just use the default one. But if you want, you can change different selection type. You can check. You can try with check boxes, horizontal, check boxes, vertical, list, twin list, combo box. So I will just use the default one. Possible choices. So here is where you need to list down all the possible choices for priority, order priority. So if I go back to my data, so this is my latest clean data. If I navigate to order priority column, order priority. So here I have medium, high, and low. Medium, high, and low. And I think I have critical as well. Yeah, critical as well. Critical. Medium, high, low, and critical. So that is the criteria or the priority that I have. So inside my multiple selection widget, I just type in critical. And then I have low, and then I have medium, and I have high. Okay, these are the possible choices that user can select from the dashboard later on. And then click OK and execute the node. Oh, sorry, before I forgot. Before you execute the node, okay, this one is under control. You need to go to re-execution tab to turn on the re-execution option. So this re-execution option allows the data to refresh on its own each time you make certain changes at the selection. Okay, under control. And once you click under control, please click one default value. For example, default value is I press critical. So you can click OK. And then execute. So you need to have one default value. Eventually, you can change it in the dashboard later on. So your node should have this like a refresh icon at the top right corner. Okay, because we just turned on the re-execution icon. And then if you go to the reference row filter, so now what happened here is the data that users select in the dashboard later on will be passed to the reference row filter node. So if you double click here, okay, so what is the data column that we want to test? So data column will be our order priority. The reference column will be our multiple selection. So this one is to allow the node to filter the row based on our multiple selection widget just now. Okay, so which column to filter? Order priority. Which reference of input based on the widget, whereby inside the widget just now we put multiple selection as the name of the variable. And then you can click OK and execute the node. So once you have a few executed node, fit to screen. Okay. Once you have something like this, I think we can start build our dashboard. Okay, and we can improve it after this. Okay. Let's build our dashboard first and see how it looks like. Okay, so if I execute this one, eventually the future node will not be executed because I only execute this one node. So another option to bash execution is you can click anywhere at the empty space. For example, I click here, meaning that I'm deselecting any nodes, and I can go to the top bar and execute all. So when I click execute all and I'm not selecting any particular node, it will auto execute all the nodes. Okay, so up until these steps, all good. Before we go to the dashboard portion, if you're done, you can raise up your hands or send thumbs up. Okay, so that I know you are okay and I'm not alone. Okay. So next, what we're going to do next is we want to create a dashboard. So how to create a dashboard? Let's say I just, okay, what you need to have in a dashboard is actually all the green nodes. All the blue nodes. So all these blue nodes, meaning that it is a visualization node. So you need to put it inside the dashboard. If you have yellow nodes include inside the dashboard is also fine. Okay, as long as all the blue ones is inside. So technically, if I'm separating the blue ones and the yellow ones, okay, I'm actually need to have from reference row filter, this node, this node, this node, and the bar charts node inside the dashboard. So highlight all the nodes that you need to be inside your dashboard. How to highlight? You can just drag and select all the nodes that you want to be in your dashboard. So the nodes should include all the blue ones or any yellow ones that related to the blue nodes. Okay, make sure you select the nodes. So once you select the nodes, right click inside any of the nodes, right click inside the nodes, create a component, or the shortcut will be Ctrl J. Okay, so there's two nodes or two options inside KNIME. One is component, one is meta node. So we want to create a component first. Create a component. The function or the difference between meta node and component is that meta node allow you to simplify your flow by gathering different nodes together. Okay, so multiple nodes you can put in one single node that is called meta node. But component is specifically, eventually it also gathered multiple nodes into one single node. But the purpose of component is actually to have a user input. Okay, so any nodes that relate to user input, you need to create a component. You cannot create a meta node, right? But if you want to like simplify your flow, no need to have any user interface. So yeah, or any dashboard. So meta node should work just fine. So you create a component. Okay, they will reset all the node. Okay, and you can rename your component. So for example, I rename my component as dashboard. Okay, and then execute the node. So technically, this is my flow now. And for example, if I want to simplify these two nodes, yes, I can use a meta node for that. Create a meta node. This one, usually we call it as pre-processing in analytics. So pre-processing, that one will be visualization or dashboard. Okay, and again, since you make some changes, you still need to execute. So I'm batch executing all the nodes. So once there's a right signal, meaning that, okay, it's done executing the node. So this is my dashboard. Okay, so how I want to open my dashboard. Okay, so you right click at the dashboard, open view. Okay, so you can see multiple bar chart inside the dashboard. And what happened is that at the end of the dashboard, here is my multiple selection widget. So now you are only seeing critical order for the office supply and the furniture. What if I want to see only the minimum or only the low priority order? Okay, I include the low inside my include and remove critical, for example. Okay, so I will get like different range of, basically, these are the orders that is low priority for office supply. Okay, this one is for critical. So if I am to give instruction to the production team, okay, which order is critical, which order is not critical. So I know, okay, for office supply, under appliances, they have 492 orders to catch up under critical. Under arts, they have 1,000 plus to catch up. Okay, these are all critical orders. Okay, but what if we can specify the date? Okay, we want to see the critical and the high-low, or we want to see the order priority based on certain dates. Okay, which eventually make more sense, since we already have the durations here. Okay, so let's try and do that. We want to have a date option on the dashboard so that user can select certain date and certain order priority. What is the items or the objects that the team need to produce? Okay. So in order to do that, we need to modify our flow a bit. Okay. In order to modify the flow, I need to go inside the dashboard. So how to go inside the dashboard? Now my dashboard already become a component. So what you can do is you can right click and then go to component. Okay, or expand component if you want to undo the whole component thing. Open component if you want to go inside the component. So I click open component. So this is what I have inside my component. Let me just zoom in a bit or fit the screen. Okay, so this is what happening inside my component. Okay, so I want to have another filter for my date, for my delivery date, for example. Okay, so I will put another row filter node here. Okay, let's look for a row filter node. And rearrange the node a bit. Okay, this row filter node, we want to filter for the delivery date. Okay, search for delivery date. And then click OK. Okay, we don't have a pattern matching yet because we're going to use a widget for that. Okay, so let's take one more node called date and time widget. So look for a date and time widget. Okay, so this date and time widget will allow user to select different date inside the dashboard, and it will eventually change the analytics of the data. Okay, so this date and time widget, if you notice, there's no black triangle at the end or at the output of the node, but the node come with a flow variable output, which is the red circle. So this is where our Mickey Mouse ears will come in handy. Okay, so we're gonna drag this one to one of our Mickey Mouse ears here. So what does this mean? It means that whatever data that coming from the row filter input data will be filtered based on your flow variable instead of the original configuration of the node. So this is what we call as flow variable. Okay, so let's, we eventually need to do some configuration. See, because it's still yellow. Okay, double click inside the row filter date time widget. So label, you can leave it as delivery date. Okay, variable name, it can be any name. Avoid spaces. I will just leave as it is. Type. Okay, our delivery date is only date, but you can select type as date. But if, for example, you have a specific date and time, you have a data that have a date and time, and you want to filter based on date and time. So you can actually select date and time to filter specific date and specific time. But I will just select date because our delivery date for this particular activities only have date. It does not have any time. Okay, so default value. So any widget would need a default value to be displayed at the dashboard. So default value now is actually pointing to the current date and time. But the data is actually, there's no current date and time data for this particular date and time. So we need to adjust this a bit. Let's go with 2020. I think around December, 07 or 30th December. Okay. Hopefully there's a data for this delivery date. If not, we need to go back to the data, to the table and find the exact data that actually exists in the data sets. Okay. Because we're actually using a backdated data. So you can also imagine that you are using a latest data. So this one, you can just use a current default value, which pointing to the current date. Okay. Okay. And then execute. And this row filter node. Okay, so what happened here is that the data, when users select the data at the dashboard, later on, it will pass through this node. Okay, and then inside row filter node, we need to make some changes to say to the row filter node, hey, we want to use the data from the row filter, from the flow variable, not from the actual configuration. Okay, so we want to bypass the row filter configuration by using our data from a row filter node. Okay, so we go inside the row filter node. So remember, we leave this pattern matching empty just now. Again, I need to reselect my column to test, which is the delivery date. Use pattern matching instead of I putting any specific dates here. What I want to use is I want to use this VBox. Okay, this VBox. The function of this VBox is to select based on your flow variable. The red line that you just passed through just now. You flow through the data through the red line, this red line. Okay, this one is your flow variable going into the row filter node. Okay, and you want to use the flow variable here. So you go to the VBox, click, and then tick at the variable. So I want to use the date input. If you have multiple variables, then you can select different variables. So this variable name is actually pointing to the same variable name that you define here. Okay, but you need to execute this node first to make the selection of variable available inside the row filter node. Okay, so make sure this VBox is turned on. So once this VBox is turned on and you select delivery date as a column to test, by right here, you should see the pattern parameter is controlled by a variable. So meaning that you are controlling the parameters of this row filter node based on the flow variable that user will input later on. Okay, and then we click OK. And then you can execute the node. Okay, if you notice, I leave out some of the node's name. It's always good to have a comment or node annotation. Okay, but if you notice, this date and time node does not have any refresh button. But our multiple selection widget here, that it comes together with a refresh button. Okay, meaning that a re-execution option. So our multiple selection widget, we have re-execution option, but we don't have that option for this date and time widget. So in other words, if you select a different date, it won't re-execute your flow. Okay. Yep, there's no re-execution of that button option. So how to solve that? You can actually select a refresh button. Refresh button or button widget. Okay, there's a lot of different kind of widget that you can integrate inside your KNIME dashboard. Okay, we're going to use this refresh button widget. And again, this refresh button widget also use a flow variables instead of a normal data. Okay, so this one, meaning that this one is the data type, table type. Okay, it shows you how many rows and columns that you have. But this one is a flow variable type of data. So I'm going to put here, this one, the refresh button, the only configuration that you need to do is if you want to have a different button text. So for example, I put here select date. Okay, select date. Okay. And I execute this node. Here. Yeah. You don't need to do anything. And then date and time widget, just re-execute it. So technically I will re-execute everything. Okay, so I execute all. Reference row filter here, empty data table. Okay, because maybe this one is creating empty data table, most probably because of my date, the date that I plug in here. Yeah, maybe this date does not have any orders for critical, whereby my multiple selection widget, the default is critical. So let's just, I'll just double check the data from this node. So I click at this node. Okay, I will check for critical data. Critical priority, order priority. Critical. So critical data for delivery date, I have 2017, 10 of January 2017. Okay. So this one I can use. Sorry, the default value can be 2017. 2017, 10th, 1st Jan. Okay. And then execute all. Still giving me empty data. Disable set order priority, multiple selection. This one, delivery date, the input, okay. Oh, okay, maybe I get the month and the date wrongly. So this one, I think should be 01. This one should be 10. 10th of January. Okay. Because I have a data from 10th of January 2017 based on my table here. Okay. Let me just double check and re-execute everything. Okay, so now I no longer have any error here. Okay, so what happened if I go back to my dashboard? Okay, if I go back to my dashboard, how to go back to your dashboard? This one is your dashboard. You go back to your activity 1. Okay, this is my activity 1. Again, if I want to go back inside my dashboard, right click, component, open component. This one is inside my dashboard. Okay, go back to opening my dashboard. I need to open from activity 1. So this one is activity 1. So you right click at the dashboard and open view. So you can see, okay, from this data, okay, now your data is a bit different. Okay, our data is a bit different. So for order delivery date on the 10th of January 2017, for critical orders, I only have 7 of art supplies, 1 binders, and 8 papers. And for furnitures, I only have 8 bouquets. So you can also imagine, like, if a production team, okay, they want to decide what order to manufacture first. So they can manufacture based on priority and based on certain delivery date. Okay. So if for example, I have a lot of manpower, okay, and this one 7, 1, and 8 is not that much, and they need more orders to work with. Okay. So I can include critical and maybe high for this particular date. Okay. So I have more orders. So this one is, so duration, I know that for this particular order of 5 storage, okay, the lead time they already wait for example, 7 days or maybe 3 days, okay. Bookcase, I don't have any high order, priority order filtering. So if I want to change a certain date, okay, for example, I don't know my data is at which date actually. Let's just try 23rd of January 2017. Select date. So I will have a different data for office supply and furniture. So there's no order that I need to complete for 23rd of January 2027 under high and critical. So for example, if I'm at this particular date, okay, I'm plotting the production plan for this date. Okay. But in terms of high and critical, there's no order for furnitures. In other words, that if my furniture department will not run for this particular date order, so I include more order priority options. So for example, I include medium. Okay, so medium, they can work with certain order quantities. So they can work with briefcase and chairs, for example, 3 chairs, 4 briefcase, depending on the amount of manpower that you have for that particular workstation. So this is an example of user interactive dashboard that you can build inside KNIME, which eventually will help you to do some sort of analytics. Okay, and the layout, you can also change the layout. Maybe I will just show you a bit. So if you go inside, in order to change the layout, you need to go inside the component. So I click open component. There's an open layout editor at the top. Okay, so you click at the open layout editor. Okay, so this is your layout. So I can reset my layout. When you click, reset, clear layout. When you click clear layout, everything will be pushed to your side, so you can rearrange it. For example, I want to put 2 cells at the top, and the first cell will be for date and time widget. The second cell will be for button refresh, and then basically you can drag and drop your widget how you want your data to be viewed, okay, inside your dashboard. Okay, and then once you're done, you click finish and you go back to your dashboard, re-execute a dashboard and open view. You should have a different layout kind of thing. Okay, so you select date, which date, and then select date, and then you can select the order priority, high or medium or low or critical order priority. Okay, and for example, I don't want to see the duration. I want to see the order quantity, or I don't want to see the order quantity. I just want to see duration. You can just simply click at the legend here. Okay, so it will disable the view. Okay. Yeah. So that's one simple example, I guess. How's everyone? All good? Okay. Hopefully you managed to catch up with the session. Okay, so actually the limit is totally up to you, meaning that there's a lot of things that you can actually do with this platform. And it can integrate with Power BI, with KNIME. And if, for example, for those who are familiar with SQLite or database, MySQL database, so you can just type MySQL, so you can straight away connect with your MySQL database, or if you want to connect with Google, okay, you can also connect with Google, okay. All right. Okay, so if you all good, I just want to share one more example, just a simple one, whereby we're going to use one machine learning attribute, which is the clustering. So if you still remember, during COVID, we have clusters from certain place, certain areas, right? So actually, how those clustering is being created? Okay, so it's actually, clustering is actually part of a machine learning algorithm. Let me just check for a while. Yep, I have until 10:30. Okay, so this one will require you to use the second data set from your Google Classroom. This data is very interesting. Inside your Google Classroom, if you navigate to your classwork, okay, so your classwork, just now we work with office sales data. Okay, there's one more data, which is fatalities, is ISR PSE conflict. So what data is this? This data is actually a data of fatalities based on the war that's happening in Palestine now. Okay, this data actually I got it just recently released from Kaggle. So if you navigate to Kaggle, or maybe I can share the link. For those who are interested in data analytics, you can use Kaggle as your website to get data. Sometimes you want to do analysis, but we don't have enough data. So I will share the link inside the chat, as well as the YouTube chat. Okay, this data is actually coming from Kaggle website. So Kaggle is a data hub whereby you can get a lot of sample data sets from here. So this is a data set it's actually, yeah, it's a data set of the fatalities that happening in our in Palestine. Okay, so we want to find some patterns based on this data. Okay, so you can download from here, or you can also take it from Google Classroom. Okay, you can click at the data and then open a new window. Okay, and then you can download the data. Download the data and drag and drop inside your KNIME workflow. Okay, we want to create a new activity for this. So what we can do is, don't forget to save activity 1. Okay, I will just save it. Okay, save, and then go to home, or maybe you can also go to your Space Explorer and create workflow. Okay, go to your Space Explorer and then create a new workflow. Okay, so we're gonna call this workflow as activity 2. Just a quick one, a simple one. Okay, so this activity 2, we're gonna start off with our fatalities data based on the war that's happening currently in Palestine. Okay, we want to see some trends or some patterns from that data. You can, where's the data? Once you download the data, you can actually just drag and drop the data. open a new window, download the data sets. Okay. So this is the data sets. So you can drag and then drop it. Okay. And you can execute your node. Again, you can always create a workflow annotation. Or this one is activity 2. Okay. Okay, we have our CSV reader. Okay, so what's next after we have our CSV reader? The fastest way to do some exploration is through, okay, let's just have a look at the data first, because it is important to understand your context. So in order to do further exploration, it's important to understand the data itself. Yeah, okay. So this data is actually the list of names, okay, date of the event, the age, the citizenship, okay, the event location, where does the event happen, the event district, okay, some of it happened in Hebron, some of it happened in Al-Quds, okay. We also have some happening in Gaza, in Rafah, okay. The event location, we also have a data on the event location region, okay, the date of the death, right? So these are all the data of fatalities that are happening from the war. So you can see the data is quite recent, from 2023. If you filter, so this data is data from 2000 until 2003. Yeah, 2023. From the year 2000 until 2023. We have some missing data here. Okay, whether the person took part in hostilities or not. Okay, the place of the residence. Okay, and then basically killed by who, and then some notes. Okay. All right. So let's do some exploration on this data. It's really interesting data. I just recently find this data online inside Kaggle. So the based on the data, there's a lot of string data actually. String data meaning that it is a text. So if you look underneath the column name, so name is string, yes. Date is string, yes. Age is string, age is number. Citizenship is string, event is string. This one is all string. Okay, most of it is string. So we want to find a pattern basically, okay, because most of it is a string. Okay, first thing first, we need to clean the data. So clean the data meaning that we want to remove unnecessary column and remove any column that have a lot of missing values, because column with missing values eventually will affect our analysis. So same like just now, I will take my row filter node. Oh, sorry. I will not take my row filter. I will take my column filter. Okay. I will take my column filter node. Okay, why column filter node? Because if I look at my data here, a lot of missing data under this particular column took part in the hostilities. Sorry. Okay. A lot of missing data here. So it's either I'm gonna remove the whole column, or I want to just remove the missing values. Okay. If I look at the statistic, how many missing data? Actually, a lot of column with missing data. Okay. Okay, we're gonna use OneNote. Okay, basically the column which have a lot of missing values, we're gonna remove it entirely. Okay, because if we remove the row, if we filter the row, then we have lesser data. Okay, So for example, this immunization column. Okay, this one is under statistic. The column called ammunition. So I will remove the whole column because there's a lot of missing value there. Notes, I will also remove notes because no point of having notes. I mean, there's not much of analytics I can do based on direct notes. So technically I'm going to remove this column, and then I'm going to remove took part in the hostiles. Took part in the hostilities column because this also contains a lot of missing values. Okay, let's just use column filter for that. Okay, we're going to remove we're going to remove name as well, because name will be just a lot of different names, a lot of variants of names, so that will not be considered under our analytics later on. I'm going to remove name. Date of event also is too diverge. Okay, we're going to remove ammunition just now, as well as notes and who took part in the hostilities. Okay, and then click OK, and then run the node. Okay, how many data that we have left? 111,424 rows. So it's still okay. And then I think if you go under statistics, just minor missing values, type of injuries. I think, yeah, we can remove this one as well, type of injuries. And yeah, let's remove type of injuries. Okay, another note that we can use to remove some of the missing values. If we want to remove missing values which is not that much, for example, under statistic, the only column that have missing values is only like 68, not that significant. Okay, so we can actually use another node called missing values. So this node can actually remove, or for example, if it detect any missing value and the numbers, we can remove the rows, for example. Okay, remove the rows. Okay, if it detect any missing value under string, we can also remove the rows. So this one will auto detect all the column for all the tables. Okay, but this one is only, I think is safe to use if the amount of missing data is not that much. Okay, because if you use this node while we have a lot of while we have a column with a lot of missing data, eventually it will cut like a huge amount of your data. Okay, so this warning is because if you want to use a PML model for modeling, but you can ignore that. So technically, now any missing values that we have, go to statistics. So we no longer have any missing values, and the amount of data that we have now, if you go to table, we have around 10K of data, which is good enough. Okay. All right. So next, we want to use this one node to do exploration before we do. Okay, we can do k-means. Okay, let's just do k-means since I already mentioned that earlier. So look for k-means. Okay, k-means. Okay, this is all different nodes, different unsupervised machine learning model that is available inside KNIME. So I take in this k-means node. Okay, you can join the nodes. So the function of k-means is that it will find a pattern for you based on the number of k that you want. How many groups that you want to have. Okay. So if you click inside the k-means, this one is the number of cluster that you want to assign. For example, I want to assign 2, for example, or 3. Okay, let's go with 3 different clusters. 2 different clusters. Okay. And age. Okay. So k-means will automatically detect integer type of data or number type of data. Why? Because behind k-means modeling, there's actually an equation behind it. But the thing about KNIME is that he said KNIME works as if, hey, you know how the model function, you don't need to know how to calculate it. They will do the calculation for you using the notes. What you need to know is the concept or the theory behind it, sort of, okay? Because there is where you know how to determine clusters and such. So clusters is basically the number of groups, how many groups that you want. I want 3 groups, for example, and it will auto detect any column. Only any column which is based on numbers. Okay, since all my data is string, we will deal with string after this. Let's deal with our clustering first. Okay, and then execute. So now I can know that I have 2 clusters. How I want to evaluate? Okay, I'll just have a look at the data here. Okay, I will have a look at the data. Okay, so at the end, I have cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 0. So cluster 1, cluster 2, and cluster 0 has been classified based on the age group. Okay, so if I filter my cluster 2, so basically cluster 2, you can have like people from the age of, I think, roughly around 40 plus, okay, from early 20s until 40 plus. Cluster 1, if I scroll down a bit until somewhere in the middle, should give me cluster 1. Or maybe I can just sort it out. Cluster 0, yeah, cluster 0 more for the senior citizen. So the age is around 40 and above, I guess. Yeah. And then for young generation, I think that one will fall under cluster 1. Yep, so for cluster 1, people at the age of 21, 19, 17. So how we want to look into this clustering better, you can always go back to your bar chart. You can always pull your bar chart. And plot the data, bar chart. Okay, so cluster occurrence count, okay. So let's see what I have. My bar chart. Open view. So I know that most of the people that's died based on the data that we have is coming from cluster 2, okay, which is from the age of 40 and around 15, something like 8 or 18, something like that, okay. So this is the distribution, and the lowest cluster is cluster 0, which is I think this one is the elderly. Cluster 1 is younger citizen, okay, or people at the younger age. It's under cluster 1. But yeah, of course, this data, the source is also questionable, and the data just now we haven't filtered based on who died. I mean, whether the person died coming from a Palestinian citizen or Israel citizen. Okay. Another interesting thing that we can do is we can use a sunburst chart. This one is going to be the last one, I promise. So now we're already close to 12:30. So try look for a sunburst node, sunburst chart node. Okay. So if you drag and drop a sunburst chart node and then you plug in from a missing values and you run and open views. Oh, so this sunburst chart is very, oh, okay, this one is a normal sunburst chart, sorry. Let's take the interactive one. I'll just delete this one. Go for the JavaScript. So JavaScript sunburst or any chart that is coming from a JavaScript, basically it offers more interactive options. So I will drag and drop this JavaScript chart. Execute it and you can open the view. Okay, although yes, it gives you an error because you have missing data. You don't have missing values there. This one is okay, because there's a certain limit in terms of how many sunbursts can view. But what you can get from sunburst is, maybe I can explain a bit. So from this chart, you know that 95.2% of the data is coming from a Palestinian citizen, whereby 4.786% is coming from Israeli citizen. Out of the 95.2%, 13.2% is coming from the Gaza city, and that is the highest. The next highest is coming from Rafah area, which is 12.3%. Yeah, from Gaza Strip, 12.3%. This one is the event when it happened. You can also filter based on female and male. Okay, so on 19th of May, also on 16th of May 2021, the event that happened at Gaza Strip, most of the fatalities that died on that day was a female, which is 0.92% of the data compared to male. So female have a higher fatalities during that particular date. Okay, so this is all the drill down data that you can actually relate and drill down. Okay, so these are options, some of the options that KNIME have to offer. Okay, so I think that's about it that I have to share with you all. I hope you can find it useful and good. Feel free to explore more regarding the platform. It is a really interesting platform. You can do a lot more with it. Okay, and then before I finish my session, or maybe I can open, actually we already passed the time, so I think before I finish my Q&A, or maybe if we can have a Q&A session, I will just close it with a Kunut Nazila that I would like all of us to recite it together, okay, for our brothers and sisters in Palestine.
اللهم إنا نجعلك في نحور أعدائنا ونعوذ بك من شرورهم اللهم بدد شملهم وفرق جمعهم وشتت كلماتهم وزلزل أقدامهم وسلط عليهم كلبا من كلابك يا قهار يا جبار يا منتقم يا الله يا الله يا الله اللهم يا منزل الكتاب يا مجري السحاب يا هازم الأحزاب اهزمهم 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 وانصرنا عليهم.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. I hope you managed to follow the class, and I hope you learned something from the course. And yes, I will pass the floor back to our MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sister Hanani, Ahmad, Puaad, for that meaningful and beneficial sharing based on your experience in KNIME software skills. Okay, we shall proceed to our next session. In this Q&A session, if you have any question, you may type it in the chat box or open your mic to ask your question. Before we end, everyone, we are now at the end of our session. On behalf of the organizing committee, I'd like to apologize for any shortcoming. We shall end with the recitation of Tasbih Kafarah and Surah Al-Asr. Before we end, I would like to remind you to stay in the meeting for a while for the photography session. And once again, don't forget to fill in the attendance and feedback form given in the chat box. Okay, everyone can open the camera. Okay, we proceed. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. Then don't forget to fill in the attendance and feedback form given in the chat box. Okay. We are now at the end of our event. I would like to thank everyone again for coming and making this program memorable and successful. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, don't forget to fill in attendance to get certificate and also the Starpoint. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.